his concerns may be well placed here. But entropy is down for the count, so not much else we can do. He asked for it. Warp Room 4 has an Egyptian theme. Feels like it's been a minute since we've done Tomb Time. Matter of fact, wasn't that like early on in episode 2? So, yeah, I hope you like Egyptian levels because there's 2 of them here. But hey, if it's Egyptian, it means it's a platforming level. Can't be all bad, right? We got Sphinxinator, level 16, level 17, Bye-Bye Blimps. Ooh, interesting. Looks like we got a new gameplay type here. It looks like you're on a plane shooting a blimp. That seems kind of fun, not gonna lie. Level 18 is another jet ski level! Seriously? But I do like the pirate ship. That looks pretty cool. And after that, we have Future Frenzy. Hey, this is the level that we got a glimpse of through the name in the Secret Warp Room. Yeah, these are some fun levels. The other future level I would consider more fun than this one, but still a pretty fun romp, I would say. And last, but not least, one of my favorite levels, Tomb Waiter. Not Tomb Raider, Lara Croft fans. Tomb Waiter. Like you're wading through water or a wading pool. Yeah, it's one of those kind of situations. So, here's the interesting thing about Warp Room 4. We need the blue gem from Tomb Waiter in order to get at least one of the gems in Sphinxinator. You can get one gem in Sphinxinator on the first pass, but it's in the same Warp Room, so why wouldn't you just do it that way? So instead of doing the levels in chronological order here, we're gonna do them in reverse chronological order. And I'm also going to be playing as Coco for the whole time, because this is basically Coco's Warp Room. Coco has the jet ski level, and she has the plane level. Well, it was exclusive to Coco back in the original Crash Warp. But in Insane Trilogy, you can actually swap between Crash or Coco for the plane levels. Interestingly enough. Without further ado, let's dive into the waiting pool of Tomb Waiter. So yeah, welcome to Tomb Waiter. This is the first Egyptian level we've done in quite some time, I gotta say. But the gimmick here is that the water is constantly rising and dropping. Now, you will need to be careful because once the water gets to a certain level, it will drown you. Worst case. And best case, it will slow down your movement. And if it's rising while your movement slow down, well, you're probably not going to last very long. But, yeah. The name is a reference to the Tomb Raider series, which was started and found most of its success on the same console as Crash and Spyro, the PlayStation 1. Tomb Raider got a lot of games on PS1. Like Tomb Raider, Twisted Metal, those are some series I can think of that got like a crazy number of entries on PS1. I'm not sure why, in the case of Twisted Metal or Tomb Raider. I mean, Tomb Raider, there was like a trilogy of games, and then they did like one more game after that. It was weird. And I think they came out a year apart from one another. Back in the PS1 days, games could be made and published in a relatively quick amount of time. It's actually kind of surprising to look back on. And nowadays, you have games taking years to come out. Like 3D Zelda games? Oh boy, they come out on average like once every half a decade. Or something crazy like that. And it didn't always used to be that way. You know, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is a Zelda game that only took like almost 2 years to make, which by Zelda game standards is insanely fast. So yeah, that's pretty incredible to look back on. But anyway, the Death Tornado Spin. Oh boy, that is a real game changer. So if you mash the spin button, you will keep spinning and spinning and spinning, which, worst case scenario, it extends your spin attack and makes yourself be able to defend yourself a good bit better against enemies. That's the worst case. Best case, it lets you stay in the air longer. Like here. Stay in the air longer, and if I didn't do that, I probably would have drowned in the water. Right then and there, let me tell you. So, yeah, that is pretty dang helpful. And we're gonna do it again. Nail that guy. And, nail that guy we did. We're gonna get that box. Wait for the water to rise up. Good lord. Start falling down again. Be careful with the pits. I find that sometimes you go near a pit when the water's doing what it's doing, and sometimes it can be inconsistent whether that counts as a drowning or not. Checkpoint here, and here's the death route for Tomb Waiter. Yep, much like High Time, you gotta go through the whole level without dying. But here's a fun fact. If you die early in the level, before the first checkpoint box, apparently those deaths may not count. I don't know if this is a glitch that can happen sometimes, or if it's just the way it is, but there have been situations where I played through a level, I would die early on in the level, again, before the first checkpoint box, like I say, I keep going through the level, and the death fruit platform is still active. So, another situation is if you reach the death fruit platform and you touch it, as in you jump on it and use it, if you die on the main path after that somehow, the death fruit platform will still be there. I'm pretty sure. And if you die in a death route, of course the platform is still going to be active as well. And there, I just didn't jump far enough, unfortunately. Well, sometimes it happens. But, yeah, Tomb Raider, it's one of those levels where it can be really difficult to deal with the rising and falling water. This is not an easy level. And when trying to get the time trial in this level, I find that this is an example of a level where it's easy to get a really good time on because of the way the level is, but it's really difficult to get a good time and then finish the level with that good time. This is, yeah, I would say this is definitely that type of level. And this isn't the only type of level like that in Crash 4. There's at least one other level I can think of that has a similar elemental gimmick, but when you're going for the time trial, it's easy to get a good time on it, but actually getting a good time while getting to the end safely, well, that's a much taller order, you see. So, yeah, there's definitely situations like that. Oh boy, that was a close call. Very close call. And after you get the Death Tornado spin, I find that even a regular spin will keep you in the air for a little bit longer, as we can see there. Gem, if you'd like to leave the level, there you go, but we're gonna die and head back to the main route in fashion. But first, don't you know? Okay, so, actually, yeah, better call is wait for the water to rise up. That was really a close call there. Knock that out. Wait for the metal boxes to show up. You gotta be careful about that, because if you don't have the metal boxes, you will have to do like a crouch double jump and do the Death Tornado spin in the air. And I would say that's cutting it really close to try to miss the timing on the water. Like, you're cutting it really close. Maybe even too close for a lot of people like it. We gotta deal with this. There's a pit there, though. God, yeah, I really didn't want to have to push it further than that. Checkpoint there. There are a lot of nitro boxes in Tomb Raider. Tomb Waiter, I should say. I don't know if there's nitro boxes in Tomb Raider. Alright? But man, they really made a lot of Tomb Raider games, on PS1 in particular. They made like 4. That and Twisted Metal, back in the day, I always wondered why those series got so many games. Especially Twisted Metal. It's weird. Especially when you consider that when it comes to Twisted Metal, I only ever hear people talk about the second one. They say the second one is like the best one. But there's like 2 or 3 other ones. What? Like, well, there's so many of them. And yes, they continued making those into the PS2, so the number only got higher. Yeah. I've played a little bit of Tomb Raider before, the original anyway, and it was an interesting game for its time, definitely. It had more of an adventure type of feel, but you could tell it was kind of limited by the PS1 and all that, I guess. Alright, so there's both gems, and let's just keep going through the warp room, why don't we? Future Frenzy! Welcome to the level with the largest box count in Crash Bandicoot Warped. I'm pretty sure 133 is the highest box count. But this is another level where you can't get either gem on the first pass, as you probably already figured out when we saw the name of the level in the secret warp room. Yeah, that's probably a dead giveaway in retrospect. So we're just going to do a pass through the level like I would if I was doing the Crash 2 minimal box challenge. Let's do a mini challenge here, where I should try to avoid as many boxes as I can in Future Frenzy. Especially these boxes. Can't mess with these anyway, because, you know, who uses the super body flop, right? Body slam, whatever it's called. But that's about all there is for the 3D portion of this level. The rest of this level is 2.5D. Yeah, this is that type of level trope, I guess. I would say this is like the snow levels from Crash 2, actually. Checkpoint boxes are kosher, and so are Aku Akus. I remember those conditions that I set for myself. Oh, look at that! Back to back. The way I like it. So we got UFO Scientists. Those are a pretty good opportunity to use your double jump. Got a double jump death tornado spin to avoid using that platform. And we've got a metallic enemy that's like a porcupine in a way, because the needles come out of it. Kind of reminds me of like in Kirby. When Kirby gets a needle ability, he does exactly that with the needles. But when Crash Warp came out, Kirby was still a fairly new series, actually. You may not realize this if you're watching this, but Kirby as a series is 28 years old. It may not seem like it, but yeah. It's been around since the NES and the Super Nintendo days. Even though you may not have heard about it until more recently, because, truth be told, the more recent Kirby games have probably been a lot more interesting than a lot of the older ones, with maybe a couple of exceptions. I say this as someone that's actually played a lot of Kirby games. I've played just about all of them. And I do enjoy the games, but they are really simple, honestly. Especially if you're a veteran of the platforming genre like I am. Like a lot of Kirby fans are, let's be honest. You know, Kirby games are known for being pretty easy. Kind of the polar opposite of a Crash game, I would say. Like, even Crash Warped, it's an easier game than the other two Crash games, for sure. I've said this a bunch of times, but it's by itself, and I feel like with some of the stuff that was changed around or added in Insane Trilogy, the difficulty gap is a lot closer than what it can be. Wow, I actually died there. Well, I don't think we can rely on that spinning platform. So, you know what I think we're going to have to do? I think we're going to have to improvise next time I come around there. Alright? Yeah, Kirby, simple, easy games, and I think there is value to that. I have nothing against the Kirby games, but they are pretty simplistic games, and yeah, I can do a better job spinning across that gap than the freaking spinning platform of Doom. Shit literally was. Good thing we were basically there level. So yeah, I didn't even crack more than 33, 34. Wow. Alright. So hey, next time, or I should say next level, is going to be another jet ski level. We did one earlier, surprisingly, with Hot Cocoa. We're going to do that, and then everything else that's after that, we're going to save it for the final episode. But we still got one more jet ski excursion to go, sadly.
So, Crash Bandicoot will meet again. Uka Uka and Dr. Cortex want me to teach you a lesson. Well, I made a few modifications to my mechanics since our last encounter. So back off or be deleted.
You know, there definitely has to be an interesting backstory with that rocket that's lodged into N. Gin's head. Also, Engine is back as the penultimate boss yet again, like in Crash 2. We'll be seeing him next time for the finale, just like with Crash 2. But we're actually gonna have some levels to have to go through when we get there. Interestingly enough, so we'll have a little bit more to digest, I would say. Probably wondering, what are they gonna do with Cortex in Crash 4? Considering how gimped, quote unquote, that he was in Crash 2, just being a glorified chase. Well, they improved. I'll say that much. They definitely improved from Crash 2's Cortex fight. Maybe not as good as the one in Crash 1. Set your expectations accordingly. Like I said when I did Nasty Nork and Spyro 1. Oh yeah, you set your expectations accordingly, let me tell you. Alright, let's go through there. Alright, we got a new enemy. A couple new enemies, I think. I think this is the level that introduces the sharks that we saw in Hot Cocoa proper. Alright, they're here somewhere. You may not see them right now, but they're lurking around here. Gotta watch out. I see one there, actually. Just gonna avoid that. There's some boxes in this inner island here. So Tale No Tales is technically my favorite jet ski level, but considering I'm not a huge fan of the jet ski levels, that's not really saying much, but I really like the pirate theme. I've always liked pirates my whole life. I've always found them interesting. Their crusade for wanting to sail the seven seas and searching for treasure. We may be back. And I also really like Wind Waker. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. That's kind of a pirate game. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And anytime there's a pirate theme in a game, I tend to look forward to it. See Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. That's another good example of a pirate situation. Chapter 5. Ooh, that is a fun ride, let me tell you. So, but Tale No Tales is interesting because to get everything, you do kind of have to go out of your way at a point to go into like a somewhat hidden area. I hope I didn't pass by it. I think we're coming up to it. Let's see. Here. I think it's over here, actually. Yeah. Basically, you got a pirate ship over here. Another one, I should say. I think the pirate ships have been a thing since making waves, shooting the cannons and whatnot. But they're definitely more prominent here because Tale No Tales has a pretty prominent pirate theme going on. So, no, and this is what I'm talking about with the jet ski in Insane Trilogy. The way it turns is so weird, man. But as far as like accelerating forward and doing the time trials and everything, it's mostly the same, I guess. But sometimes there are times where you may not hit a box when you jump off the ramp. You might have to redo it like an ungodly number of times. And it's just weird that it's like that. I almost missed the box there, I swear. We only got 15 boxes left. There's a life under the water. If you hold forward on the control stick after you jump a ramp and land on the water, you'll dive into the water. So that's a pretty interesting thing that rarely comes into practice. Same with that box of Hot Cocoa, apparently. I didn't even remember that box was a thing. But, yeah, it's a thing. And it will get you. But, yeah, I bet you weren't expecting a double serving of jet ski one of these parts. I wasn't expecting to do Hot Cocoa. But it wound up working itself somehow, pretty naturally. Because it wasn't my intention to have to do Road Crash again, but, well, sometimes things work out, and maybe not in the way you expect. And that's fine. I think that's a pretty good lesson to learn for life in general. It's good to have expectations, but let me tell you, you've also got to be willing to be adaptable in case things happen that are out of your control, out of left field, as it were. But okay, we got all the boxes in Tale No Tales. Let me breathe, because I don't have to do any more jet ski levels from now until we reach the final boss. So welcome to Bye Bye Blimps. It's a plane level. You're not really doing any platforming. You're flying around, inverted controls, or maybe not. I think mine are not inverted. Yeah, they're not inverted. I'm used to inverted. But anyways, if you push the X button, or the A button, or whatever the equivalent is, you can do a barrel roll. You know, like old peppy hair from Star Fox. Just do a barrel roll, alright? The barrel roll will make you impervious to enemy fire from the enemy planes, which are lurking around here, and they can be annoying if you're not careful, believe you me. Not too many boxes to track down for the gem, thankfully. Honestly, these levels are pretty dang short, so we're going to start off with something nice and simple. But yeah, all it is that you're flying around, you're shooting at the blimps and the enemy planes if they get in your way, and the goal is to destroy all of the blimps or whatever targets you may have for the particular level you're doing. There is one exception to the rule though. The level Rings of Power, which I showed off the name of in the last episode, is a playing level that's actually a race instead of an objective to destroy all of the objects. Since I won't be showing that level off, I figured now would be a good time to mention it. Still got one more box. Slow load, so we're going to knock out this blimp. If you touch one of the blimps, I think you just get bounced off. I'm pretty sure you don't lose health or anything like that. Alright, we got the gem, barrel roll, bada bing, bada boom, the crystal. Yeah, these levels are short and sweet, honestly. They're not annoying at all. And now, welcome to Sphinxinator, which starts off in a similar vein to Tomb Time, where we get a close-up of, I believe this is called, what is it called? The Sphinx? I think that's the Sphinx cat, and the other one, yeah, I don't know. You need to backtrack for 4 hidden crates behind you. This level has a lot of boxes to track down. We have 2 routes here, but unlike the purple gem path in Tomb Time, this path over here is not mandatory. In order to cross that gap, you will need to do a double jump and a full Death Tornado Spin to get across the gap. Death Tornado Spin, that's some good stuff. In fact, we're gonna do just that for these 2 smaller pits, alright? But since Sphinxinator does come before Tomb Waiter in the level listing technically, I'm pretty sure it's not a stretch to say this is the easier of the 2 Egyptian levels for Workroom 4. Maybe it's a little harder than Tomb Time, depending on how you look at it. I don't know what I was thinking, spinning into that TNT! I really don't want this game to end, so I'm extending it, don't you know? Well, when you do smash a box that has an extra life in it, when you re-enter the level, that box will have a bunch of Wumpa Fruit instead. And if you collect 100 Wumpa Fruit, you get a life, don't you know? You probably would have figured that out by now. I really like to be mentioning stuff like that, but I mean, it's true. Can't deny it. Also, people calling a Wumpa Fruit an apple. I mean, to be fair, it looks like a stinking apple, but they are Wumpa Fruit. It's a made-up fruit for the Crash Bandicoot universe, don't you know? Yeah, Sphinxinator has a larger emphasis on the mummy enemies this time around, compared to Tomb Time, which was really just more of a general Egyptian level to give you a taste of what's to come, because we did Tomb Time in episode 2, I believe, and then we did Tomb Waiter last episode, and we're doing Sphinxinator now, and this isn't the last Egyptian level you need to do before you get to the final boss fight with Dr. Cortex, so yeah, you get a lot of Egyptian. Definitely a lot of Egyptian. I feel like there's more Egyptian than there is Arabian, which is interesting to say the least. Thankfully, unlike Tomb Waiter, there isn't a death route for Sphinxinator. Like I said, you need the blue gem in order to get a secret gem. You don't need it to get the box gem, which is the gem you get for destroying all of the boxes. You just need the blue gem to get the other gem here, so figured why not show both in one run, right? Which means that this level is probably going to be about as long as Tomb Waiter was. Maybe even a little bit longer, but that shouldn't be a problem. Not going to get crushed by the block that time. Thankfully, plenty of lives to go around this time around, so that's always nice. Checkpoint. I believe we are coming up to the blue gem route. And you will respawn at that checkpoint if you choose to die and respawn on the main path, which you probably should, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you chose not to do that. I have had playthroughs where I would get the gem, the box gem first, and then come back for the other gem, just for a change of pace, but admittingly this is the most efficient way to go about it. And make the main path maybe a little, maybe have a lower resistance so people can just beat the game and be done with it, I guess. Make the main game really good and save the challenging stuff for people to come back to. But keeping in mind that the Death Tornado Spin gives you kind of a gliding function, consider maybe only doing a couple spins instead of a bunch. Man, there's going to be a lot of resistance with the black stuff or the ice in Crash 2. Good lord, the ice physics, especially in Cold Hard Crash. Good lord. Just be sure to be careful here. There's no need to rush. The gem is like right there. Okay, whoa. Gotta wait for the doors to do their thing too. Don't want to get crushed by the doors. Alright, gem. Thankfully the path is not very long. And honestly, I thought the doors would close on me at the last minute there, and we could have saw the death animation for that, but alas, a lot of the death animations had to slip through the cracks, as it were. Like the death animation for the twin-headed giants and doubleheader. That would have been a funny one to show off, but oh well. And there were some funny death animations in the Tiger levels too. Pretty sure I've shown that off a bunch. Yeah, whether it's the level I actually commentated on or the other one that I didn't commentate on. Surprised that the spears didn't kill me there. That's another gimmick that seems to be in abundance here in Sphinxinator, are the spears jutting out from the ground. They are in Toon Time, but in very short supply by comparison. Actually, they might just be on the Purple Gem path, now that I'm thinking about it. I don't even know if there were any on the main path. Been a minute. And, have we hit the bonus room yet? I don't think we've hit the bonus room yet. Yeah, this level goes on for a bit. But if you pay attention to the murals, the paintings on the wall, you can see Engine there. But the Toon Time, I don't think it had any Dingo Dial paintings, which is interesting to think about. So there we have the crystal and the bonus room right next to one another. Again, bonus rooms serve as sort of a secondary checkpoint, for better or for worse. So if you fail a bonus room, well, you get that handy dandy checkpoint. And if you die in the main path after a bonus room, you get that checkpoint too. It is annoying though that if you die in the bonus room, you don't get your Aku Aku back. So you'll have to worry about recollecting your old friend Aku Aku. So that's kind of annoying. Alright, so you could get the TNT there, but you'll lose an extra life. So just double jump around it. You should have to double jump by this point. So it shouldn't be any issues. If you're struggling doing a double jump, friendly reminder, you can hold down the circle button or whatever the equivalent is on your version and do a double jump after that and you will get some extra height. For comparison, this is a regular double jump and this is a crouch double jump. Pretty decent difference. Metal crates will not be destroyed by explosives, as we see there. You will need to do a body slam or a super body slam, same difference honestly, to destroy the metal crates, at least in these games. So, yeah. Shouldn't have much left in Sphinxinator. It's a pretty fine level, honestly. I think this might be my, well, there is Tomb Waiter fighting for being my favorite Egyptian level, but I do like Sphinxinator a lot more than Tomb Time, at least. There's also these monkeys. I didn't get a chance to talk about them. You can jump on them to get some wump fruit, kind of like if you jump on Polar in Crash 2, you get some extra lives. But other than that, you know, they're pretty easy enemies to deal with. You know what? We're gonna crouch together, monkey, because we're gonna let the explosives do their thing. Oh, there's Dingo Dial. Yeah, look at that attention to detail. Dingo Dial and Engine, the bosses of warp rooms that had Egyptian levels in them. Yeah, pretty nice touch. Pretty sure that wasn't in the PS1 version. I think Vicarious Visions added that. I could be wrong, but you know. So you got a lot of monkeys there. They throw some stuff at you, and if the stuff hits you, it turns you black. I guess it's like ash or something? I don't know. But yeah, pretty funny stuff with the monkeys. Now we have to head back to the warp room because we got some unfinished business. That unfinished business being old Engine. He didn't get enough of a beating with Crash in Crash 2. Well, this time around, we're gonna have a different Bandicoot under the helm for this fight. Yeah, fun fact. We're actually going to be able to do a boss fight with Coco. Hey, better late than never, I say. I mean, technically Coco wasn't a character in the series until 2, so it's not that late. But yep, we got another Engine mecha ahead of us. Crash, look at that, look at that. Crash cannot do this boss fight. Isn't that something? But... Oh yeah, I thought that might have been my phone. My bad. Alright.
So, you want to go a few rounds? When this is over, we'll see who is obsolete.
So this boss fight has an intro now. In the original, it basically just puts you right in the middle of the boss fight right away as you started. Which was kind of weird in retrospect, but it's really cool that they added a proper intro this time around. So, now, welcome to Engine Round 2. This is a far more interesting boss fight than the Crash 2 one. Crash 2's fight was honestly kind of boring, looking back on it. But this time around, you have to focus on destroying sections of his robot, just like in Crash 2, but you're actually firing at them with a vehicle, which is a lot better. You could say that Bye Bye Blimps was kind of a taste of something like this because of the way that gameplay was, but this doesn't play quite the same as Bye Bye Blimps. Similar, but not exactly the same. There are some pretty important differences. One being that you're not in a 3D area, you're actually on a screen that you move up and down and everything, so... But unlike Crash 2, there's a second phase. And we get an intro for that too. Pretty nice, I gotta say. Alright, but now we have a lot more pieces to take down, and you really have to worry about the projectiles too. If not, the projectiles can get you if you're not careful. You can't recover your health during this fight, so that's why you really gotta try and play it safe for the most part. But, you know, if you're constantly moving around like I am, I find that maybe you're not gonna do as much damage, but you're gonna be a lot safer as a result. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, but sometimes a good offense can be, well, can be vice versa, you know? But we have twice as many rocket launchers. They function the same as they did in Crash 2, funnily enough, but in a much different context this time around. The orbs coming from the sides, and the big object that he shoots from the bottom object is the worst because you actually have to take down the projectile manually. But yeah, this boss fight is a huge improvement over the Crash 2 one. The Crash 2 one didn't convince me that Engine was going to be a fun boss. This one, on the other hand, I would say it changed my mind. And now we have Le Fruit Bazooka. This, oh.
It's funny how history repeats itself. Yet again, Engine has failed to defeat you.
What? For this we must destroy you!
Oh, my aching head. I'm not feeling myself these days. So the end is in sight. Gather another 5 crystals, and again you will have foiled my plan. Or will you?
So, as I was about to say, the Fruit Bazooka is a really cool power-up. But it isn't really all that mandatory, I guess you could say. I think there's like 1 or 2 instances where you're highly recommended to use it, but you don't have to. On the other hand, those green metal boxes with the exclamation mark on them that you use to destroy all the nitro in a level, I think those are made slightly redundant with the bazooka, but, well, we will see the fruits of that in probably the next level. So here's the thing with Warp Room 5. We have, for level 21, Gone Tomorrow, only 2 levels after Future Frenzy. That's kind of weird. Also, the theme for the Warp Room is the Future theme, so that's pretty nice. Orange Asphalt, which is the 3rd motorcycle level, and there's 1 more in the secret Warp Room. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the last episode. Area 51. Oh, that one can be rough, but Orange Asphalt is the longest. I don't know if I'd say it's the hardest, because I think because of it being a little bit longer than Road Crash, like I said during Road Crash, that means you get more of an opportunity to get ahead of the other racers. So the only real challenge is getting all of the boxes and winning the race in the first try. I find that Orange Asphalt is usually the most consistent for me in that regard, but this being a Let's Play, being live, things could change. Level 23 is Flaming Passion, the final Arabian level in the game. Largely based on high time as it takes place at night, but instead of being focused on, well, actually, honestly, a lot of the stuff we saw in high time is expanded upon in Flaming Passion. Emphasis on the fire, and Tomb Waiter was water themed. But the green gem is here. It's kind of weird. You know, I feel like the green gem and the red gem would have made more sense if they swapped positions, because the green gem being in the underwater level with all the seaweed and everything, that really would have meshed better, when the red gem being in the level that features fire. That's just how I feel. Level 24, the second plane level, Mad Bombers. It's basically the same as the Bye-Bye Blimps, but you're destroying actual biplanes instead of blimps. It's only 5 of them, but each of them are like you have to destroy 2 objects. It's kind of weird. And last but not least, we actually have an Egyptian level that takes place at night. Sensing a little bit of a recurring pattern here, but not really. Bug Light, like Spaced Out in Crash 2, features a gem route that requires all 5 colored gems. However, since the yellow gem, you need to go out of your way to get it, sadly, I will not be showing that off, unlike what I did with Spaced Out. I learned my lesson after that. So, we have another Egyptian level to finish things off. But, whereas the first 3 warp rooms were mostly done in chronological order, with a little bit of back and forth, and the 4th one we did it in reverse chronological order, Warp Room 5 is going to be a little different with how I'm going to do this. So I'm actually going to do Flaming Passion first, so we can get the green gem out of the way. And then after I do that, we're going to go ahead and do Mad Bombers, and then I'm going to go back to Gone Tomorrow, then do Orange Asphalt, and then we'll finish with Bug Light. That way, we have a platforming level, and then we have the Mad Bombers, another platforming, motorcycle, and then Bug Light to finish things off. We're going to be playing as Crash for the remainder. That's why we had a little bit of that Coco at the start, because Crash is featured in Mad Bombers. You can play as Coco if you want to in Insane Trilogy, but Mad Bombers features Crash. Yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get our fiery passion ablaze. Why not? So this level, like Tomb Waiter, is one of those levels that is, it's not hard to get a really good time on in the time trial, but oh boy, is it difficult to get it consistent. And meet the Fruit Bazooka. If you hold down whatever the equivalent to L2 is on your controller, you will bring up the bazooka. And if you push the circle button, or whatever the equivalent is there, you will shoot a fruit projectile. It really makes dealing with the extra abundance of enemies here, compared to previous Arabian levels, much easier to deal with. But the Fruit Bazooka won't save you from bottomless pits, unfortunately. Well, thankfully that's what the double jump and the Death Tornado Spin are for. Yep. We have less boxes in general to get compared to High Time, and the green gem is hidden behind a Death Fruit. This time around, the Death Fruit actually has some boxes on it, as I recall. Or if it doesn't, I think there isn't an exit portal at the end of the Death Fruit this time around. No. This time, if you go through the Death Fruit, it'll take you to a slightly later point in the level. So there's going to be at least one box along the way that you'll have to take care of ahead of time. I'm not risking it with that guy. So. Alright, double jump, Death Tornado Spin, and we're good. Besides Nitro, you can also destroy TNT from a distance with the bazooka. So it's not really mandatory to do anything like that with the bazooka, but my god, does it make a difference, and it makes the last warp room a lot more of a pleasure cruise compared to the final warp room in Crash 2, which is still not as hard as the fourth warp room in Crash 2, funnily enough. The difficulty definitely kind of peaked there in retrospect, but not this time around. I find that most of the levels in Warp Room 5, or at least some of them, are fairly easy to go through, depending on the context. Flaming Passion isn't a terribly difficult level, especially with the Fruit Bazooka, just to go through and get everything. But if you're going for the time trial, oh boy, expect to take quite a few resets, you know, on average. I don't think I've ever gotten the Platinum Relic or even the Gold Relic in Flaming Passion first try, ever. It always would take like a million tries or something like that. So here we have the Death Root, and there's a box right there. Knocked it out with the bazooka. We're gonna scout out ahead a little bit here. I believe the Death Fruit will drop us. Did I say Death Fruit? Death Root will drop us all the way there. The bazooka can take care of the enemy and all the boxes. Are you serious? Wow. Okay. So we don't have to worry about that. I think the bazooka's range might have been expanded compared to how it was in the PS1 version. Let's overestimate our jump a little bit and jump on the Death Root platform. Why not? Alright, yeah, Death Root's in here in Flaming Passion and High Time. Hang'em High's Death Root, I guess you could call it, is accessed with the secret entrance in the secret warp room, but I don't know if you can really call that a Death Root, considering you don't access it in the same way as the other Death Roots. Can you really call it a Death Root if you can just go into it at any time without having to worry about if you used up all your lives or whatnot? And unlike the Sphinxinator route, the Sphinxinator gem route, I believe it's okay to hit the metal checkpoint boxes this time around, assuming you took care of the boxes that were a little bit ahead of you prior to coming into this route. In some ways, I probably would consider this easier than High Time's Death route, but again, having the bazooka really does kind of narrow the gap a little bit. Kind of a close call with that Schmittar throwing enemy though. Yeah, the swords that look like that, they kind of look like a crescent moon with a bit of an edge to them. They're called Schmittars for some reason. Or is it scimitars? Scimitars. I couldn't tell you. Is there no sword throwing? Okay. Whoa, oh! Dang! A delayed sword toss. That could be kind of pain. I'm just gonna shoot you from behind. Or I'm gonna try. There we go. Alright. Back to the main route, of course. Flaming Passion. Yeah, this is still a fun level, especially with the bazooka. Can't imagine doing this level without the bazooka, though. Imagine that could probably make this the hardest Arabian level in the game. So you don't have to destroy the 4 boxes that were ahead of you, just that one box. Good to know. Kind of weird how this Death Route, it takes you back to the main route, but the one in High Time just takes you to the end of the level. Kind of a weird bit of inconsistency there. We don't have too many boxes so far, but coming up to the end of the level, because the Flaming Passion bonus room has a lot of boxes in it. I think the previous record holder for Crash Warp so far was the bonus room in Doubleheader. I think that one had 30 boxes. Flaming Passion, I think it has more than 30. Or maybe it has exactly 30. So it's tied with Doubleheader. We're fixing to find out. It has all the nitro. And like I said, you're expected to use the bazooka here. I don't know if this is the only level like that in Warp Room 5, because, you know, you have to assume that all the levels that are like that are in Warp Room 5. Maybe it's safer to get that nitro from this spot, huh? Alright. Bam. You can also use the Fruit Bazooka to collect Wumper Fruit from a distance. Somehow, but then again in Crash 2, Crash could just toss Wumper Fruit for no reason, and in the original it just came out of nowhere. So, alright, I'm not gonna fall for the nitro this time. There we go. You lose some Wumper Fruit, but might be a fair trade-off. Would you rather lose a whole life or 3 Wumper Fruit? Come on, it should be an easy decision. Hey, the monkey! I think this might be the only jarred monkey in the entire level. Wow. What a way to go out. We definitely had some monkey business with them in High Time, I believe it was. I think we blew one up, and then some other monkey got pretty messed up, I'm not gonna lie. Don't get me wrong, I love me some good monkeys and some good apes, especially if they try to escape from you. But, they can be a handful. They really can. Let me tell you, especially if a monkey gets a hold of a brain-enhancing helmet and suddenly wants to take over the world. Could you imagine? Park the Bombardier! Park the Bombardier! We're fixing to go onto your position, Bogey. Or something like that. Welcome back to the plane situation. Same amount of boxes as in Bye Bye Glimpse, which I think is interesting. Again, you push the X button or whatever the equivalent is to do a barrel roll, and you use the square button or I think circle? No, circle or whatever that equivalent is the brake button. Helps you slow down, which can be useful, believe it or not. It's a lot easier to turn if you slow down ahead of time. So, the biplanes are a good bit more difficult to deal with than the blimps, because instead of destroying the main body, you have to destroy their engines. Each one has 2 engines. So while the UI displays 5 planes, you're really trying to destroy 10 objects, 10 engines. But it's not... this is a good bit harder than Bye Bye Glimpse because the enemy planes do more damage. At least it seems like they do. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not just me in that regard, right? So, you know, keep moving. Don't stand still for too long, or the gunfire will really add up quick. I find that braking to do a turn is a lot better for this level, since you're going to be pursuing the biplanes, well, period. You don't really pursue the blimps and Bye Bye Blimps at all. So, by comparison, yeah, this is a lot more work. Alright, we got a bogey coming in. Shoot the engine. Oh! You're gonna try and bump into me. Alright. I'm gonna shoot the other engine and that should be it. Alright, but no fooling around. We gotta get the last 2 boxes. I really don't want to have to redo this level, not even off screen. I ain't in that kind of mood. I kind of wish there was a button to make the plane go faster, but I guess something like that wouldn't really make sense, because you're not really supposed to go through this level fast, I don't think. Pretty sure that's not the intention they want you to go for. Understandable to go fast if you're riding an animal, because, you know, the animals just really want to get away from the Bandicoots. Okay, we got the gem, good. I didn't see it spawn right away, so I was getting a little worried. Got that engine and the other engine. That was one of the smoothest runs I've ever had. No lie. That level can be rough if you're not careful. So when I think of the future levels in Crash Bandicoot Warped, Future Frenzy comes to mind, but not necessarily in a positive way. This level, on the other hand, though, is, I feel, a lot more compelling. So, the interesting thing is, in order to get all the boxes, you do need to go through the green gem path that's unlocked by getting the gem and Flaming Passion. That's the thing. But there's going to be a little back and forth in this level because of that. But we also have these robot enemies over here. They will prop up, shoot missiles at you, because, yeah, that is what they do. And you can shoot the bazooka at them when they expose their weak spot. Technically, you can also spin into them, but I find that using the bazooka on them is much more satisfying. But keep that in mind if you're doing the time trial for this level, that you can just spin into them, worst case scenario. And thankfully, there's no death route to worry about here, so that's nice. You just gotta worry about getting to that gem path. I span into that robot just because, ow! Conveyor belts! Watch out for those. Those can get you too. Knock out your crates with the bazooka. Pretty sure you can get them with a jump and a spin, but I mean, why not use the bazooka, right? We're gonna keep walking, get a little exercise in there for the day, and knock this enemy out with the bazooka. Yeah, the enemies weren't that hard to deal with in Future Frenzy, but now that you have the bazooka, which I don't know, thematically, it makes a lot of sense to have in this level. I don't know, is that just me? Or is that one of the things? So here we have a bunch of clear boxes. We need to get some exclamation mark boxes here. But there's also going to be some in the green gem path that we're going to hit. Actually, I think that's the one that gets that box up there. I think there might have been some boxes earlier in the path as well. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of backtracking, but I think the green gem path puts you at the end. So that should be fine. We're going to leave those boxes to chill until we come back for the backtrack. Yeah, come back for the backtrack. The balance between the 2D and the 3D sections in Gone Tomorrow is also much better than in Future Frenzy, because Future Frenzy, you're in the 3D section for barely a minute, and then you're in the 2D section for the rest of the level. Gonna leave that checkpoint box there too. I believe that's the play I want to go for. Thankfully, I have Aku Aku to back me up, so worst case scenario, in case one of these enemies or obstacles gets lucky. Aku Aku cannot save you from a bottomless pit though. Sadly. Alright. Round. You can still do some 3D movement in the 2 sections, so that's good. The only strictly 2D level seems to be the underwater level, so noting, we're going to want to leave that TNT there. This one right here. We're going to want to leave that one alone. The other one, yeah, you can knock that one out all you want. But that one, we're going to have to leave it alone because you see the two clear boxes below it. Yeah, this level can be a little tricky to get all the boxes, but I don't think it's such a cryptic and difficult puzzle like some of the other ones in like Cold Hard Crash, I want to say. That level is pretty dang hard to figure out, a pretty good route to do. We're going to knock out this bonus room, 17 boxes. It seems like this is another bonus room where you're encouraged to use the bazooka. I mean, there's a TNT here. You don't need the bazooka for that to be safe from it. But you got that nitro over there. As you can see, if you shoot your bazooka at the fruit, you will collect it. Very good. You know, try to keep your distance and all that stuff. Yeah, definitely want to keep your distance. Knock to the other side. And you can also use the fruit bazooka to hit boxes of all sorts from a distance. It doesn't have to be the dangerous nitro boxes. It can be any type of box, thankfully. Got a good taste of that with Flaming Passion and then Gone Tomorrow. These two levels are some of my favorite levels in the game. That is the thing, though. The first warp room of Crash Bandicoot Warp, it really does leave kind of a bad impression with only 2 platforming levels, but as you've seen through this Let's Play, I'm sure, the balance of platforming to non-platforming gets a lot better. And the better platforming levels really start to show themselves, and the game really does pick up some steam when you get to the second warp room, which is fine, because the second warp room is still early in the game, to be fair. Like, you're not at the mid-game until you get to Warp Room 3, and even then, at least a couple levels into Warp Room 3. By that point, you'll have definitely gotten your fill, I feel. So here we are at the Green Gem Path entrance. Knock the enemy out. I think when those enemies get knocked over, they can't recover. I think it's like a turtle. Oh, well, can turtles recover from being flipped over? I don't know. I've never seen that happen firsthand. So you should be going into this path probably with about 50 boxes. I mean, I skipped some for obvious reasons, but it seems like maybe around 50, give or take a couple. So maybe we'll say 45 or more. It's probably a good barometer. But we're gonna backtrack through some sections after we come to the end of this path. So whatever boxes you might have missed, I'm sure you will have knocked them all out by the end of it. That said, there are those times where you go through the level and you miss one box out of nowhere. It's more frustrating when you don't know where the box is, but usually that's the case, so yeah, that can be real frustrating. But man, let me tell you, this is a different, it's supposed to be challenging, but with the bazooka, yeah, I don't know, not so much. And these robots seem to be slower than they were in the PS1, which makes sense. They could be a little fast. Oh boy! Oh boy, yeah, that was a little risky. Yeah, trying to use the bazooka while you're on a moving conveyor belt, that can be kind of precarious, I would say. I don't think I've used that word on a Let's Play yet. Precarious is a fun word to say. Precarious plateau. Oh, we're at the end of the death road already. Short but sweet, I say. Nice little robot at the end. Gem, you should have an extra 14 boxes, it looks like. Plus that. You definitely want to hit that. You don't want to miss that. Come back to Gem platform, and this should take us to earlier in the level. See, the boxes over there are now filled in. I believe we have to go back a little bit in order to get other boxes out on the path. Gotta backtrack against the camera, but thankfully not too far. Thankfully not too far. This is why I mean, you have this in Future Frenzy as well. You have to backtrack basically through the entire level almost when you come out of the secret death room, which is crazy. I think that might be the worst instance of forced backtracking in the entire series, actually. Weird that it's in Crash Bandicoot Warped, which I feel like it did a lot better of a job mitigating that sort of thing. I would say the second worst example would maybe be Tomb Time, because you have to go through the purple gem path and then backtrack through the other path. And if you don't know what you're doing, that can be rough, but basically 75% of the level in Future Frenzy, that's utterly insane, honestly. And I'm being completely serious about that. No fooling around with the pawns or anything. I'm dead serious. I really hate that. That's honestly why Future Frenzy kind of sours itself for me. And Gone Tomorrow is like the better version of Future Frenzy. kind of crazy how that works. I don't remember or know what the pun "Gone Tomorrow" is. Like, I don't know what that's a reference to or anything like that. Flaming Passion, I think that's just a play on words because, you know, the level featured a lot of fire. So, you know, that's probably simplicity. Mad Bombers might be the name of a film, though. I can't say that for certain, but that might be the name of a film. Bye Bye Blimps, that sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you if that's based on anything either. It could just be another play on words because it's an alliteration. Bye Bye Blimps. Could just be that kind of situation. Not having to invert controls. Weird at times. You know, I think I'm gonna just spin into the robot because the bazooka, I don't know, can be a little weird. The spin is more reliable, but the bazooka, killing the robots with the bazooka is just more cool, I feel. Alright, so welcome to Orange Asphalt. This time we have a sunset theme instead of a nighttime or a daytime theme. And I think this one matches the motorcycle levels the best. I don't know, is it just me? I don't know, it's a pretty good atmosphere going on here. An atmosphere that's somewhat ruined by the stress of having to do a race and also tracking down all the boxes to get a gem. The cop cars are also on the move because they really want to stop these racers from having a street race because, I don't know, it's like street racing is a danger or something. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not an expert on this sort of thing, I'm just using common sense, but maybe people racing on a road are dangerous to people that aren't racing at high speed. I don't know. Especially if they're not going in the right direction. It could very well cause a wreck of some sort. And, you know, I hear it's pretty often that whenever a wreck happens, people are usually injured or outright killed. And I think that's something we want to mitigate or outright avoid if at all possible, you know. So I think in this one instance, I can understand the cops doing something like this, you know. I can get behind this kind of a decision. Maybe not all the decisions they can make sometimes, but once in a blue moon, even a broken clock can be right twice a day. So, you know, that old dodge. But I find that Orange Asphalt, probably because it's a little bit longer than Road Crash, I don't think it's as hard to finish the race in first place. You know? It can still be kind of hard, don't get me wrong. Get that one. Side. Yeah, that last stretch can be pretty finicky though. But get the gem and the crystal in one shot. Road Crash is redeemed. Oh, thank God. So the name for this level is kind of a double header. It's named after Bud Light, which is a brand of beer. And there's a light because there's going to be a bug that lights up your way. Just like the bugs from Night Fight in Crash 2. Also, Totally Fly, which is a secret level. This level has a lot of boxes, and none of them are in the other gem route that I mentioned that requires all 5 colored gems. So, you know, it's almost as many boxes as there are in Future Frenzy. It's 121. The largest box count of any Egyptian level, even Sphinxinator, which we dealt with earlier. That one had like 105 boxes, and 121, that's a pretty good step up, Chief. But honestly, for a final level, I find that this is a lot easier than Spaced Out. Like, I don't even think it's close, honestly. Not to say this level can't be challenging, but Spaced Out, yeah. You could say that the difficulty was a lot more spaced out in that regard. But, you know, getting all the boxes, it's mostly a pleasure cruise, honestly, especially if you're used to the difficulty of Crash games in general. Yeah, this is a pleasure cruise after some of the stuff we've seen throughout this series of Let's Plays, but it's nice to end on something relatively easy. So, as long as you have the blue gem, wow, you can barely see anything, holy cow, get out of that situation. So, the blue gem, if you have that, you can start on the gem path, but you need the other colors in order to finish it. I need to take a drink of water or something, I'll be right back. Go. out my fill of water. So do stay hydrated, everyone. You know, just make sure you stay hydrated. It's very beneficial. The human body is made up of a surprising percentage of water. You don't have that water, you're not gonna function too well. Let's just say that anybody could tell you from experience. Good lord, the lighting, what is going on with this lighting right now? Good lord. Good thing we have that bug over there. Oh, 40 boxes here! So this is the level that's a new record for the number of boxes in a bonus level, huh? Alright then, I'm gonna jump over that bug because I do want to see if I can knock out some boxes ahead of time here. Just to make my life easier and not have to worry about it, but I don't think there's anything I can do there. Get those. Being through. Don't have time for anything else. Nitro. There might be a green nitro box at the end, but I would be too confident about that, honestly. Alright. Get this nitro, and that should be the end. Unless I fall into a pit. Oh no! Okay, I didn't fall into a pit. That can happen sometimes, yeah. This bonus room is probably the hardest thing in Bug Light, honestly, because the bugs barely last long enough for you to take your time and destroy all the boxes. You really need to kind of be in a rush. But since you have to sit still to do the fruit bazooka, you know, judge accordingly whether it might be better to do the bazooka or to actually use that super body slam that I really love to poke fun at. But sometimes it can prove useful. Let's not kid ourselves. Every power-up in Crash Bandicoot Warped has a pretty good purpose. Some more than others, but in some ways the super body slam, it can work. See, it hit those boxes from a distance. That's gotta count for something, right? So, yeah, it can be useful. You gotta ascertain when it's most useful and when it may not be so useful. Get the nitro there, and wow, I can't see anything else. I'm trying to find that. There we go! Found the green metal box in the dark! Alright, hey, let's head back to the warp room because it's too dark in here. Well, all that's left in the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is Crash, Cortex, and their masks for one final epic clash. Well, I'd argue it's maybe not as epic as the first fight in Crash 1, but this fight is still pretty solid. It's not as easy as the one in Crash 2, so don't let your guard down or anything, but if you know what you're doing, it can be kind of an autopilot, but honestly, it's fine. We've had fun with the bosses all the way up to this point, but after we let Crash do his little dance, it's time to finish this. And it's been fun, but this won't be the last time I play this game. And, you know, for this Let's Play, it's been fun. It really has.
I'm sorry. This is the part where I'm supposed to be angry, full of rage, incensed beyond belief. Once again, you have outsmarted and outspun my best henchman. I should be rather upset, shouldn't I?
And in fact, we're furious. But it seems you have overlooked one small detail, you little orange delivery boy. Now that you have gathered all the crystals, all we have to do is take them from you. Crash Bandicoot, for the last time, give the crystals to me.
So after 3 games, Cortex is arguably on his last legs. But Uka Uka's around to switch things up a little bit as he's in a constant battle with Aku Aku. Now, you don't want to touch the energy beams going on between them. Whether it's Aku's or Uka's, it'll instantly kill you because Aku Aku's too busy to give you extra health. Sadly. But if you do a double jump and Death Tornado Spin, it's a pretty easy way to avoid the mines that Cortex will usually toss at you. When he lands on the ground, keep spinning into him. Use the Death Tornado Spin if you like. And you'll eventually knock him into the center, which will suck him in for some odd reason. You just do this 3 times, and you're pretty much good. But each hit, after you hit Cortex, Aku and Uka will change up their conflict. And you have to keep a side eye on it, at least. Or otherwise, they will blindside you. and then, yeah, you'll instantly die. That's how this fight that's how this fight can be challenging. Because you always have to deal with the threat of instant death from the conflict going on between the masks, don't you know? And you also have to worry about the placement of the mines that Cortex tosses at you. So, yeah, this is definitely a huge step up in difficulty for Crash 2. For the final phase, the masks will home in on your position somehow, and you gotta keep being on the move or they will instantly kill you. Right there, almost got me. You still have to worry about the mines and the lasers that Cortex is throwing at you, but if you position it right, the mask can actually knock out some of the mines. So, pretty cool when that tends to happen, but it's not pretty common for that to happen. I would not rely on something like that. Okay. Knock him off of his position there. Deduct from understand him. We're done! Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is done. Collect the speed shoes like in Crash 2, and this will help you get all of the remaining relics in the game. Collect all of the relics, you'll get all the gems, and you'll unlock the real ending. But we're gonna end this, the main Let's Play series for these 3 games by looking at the regular ending, which is still fine, but, you know.
Defeated again. This is not fair. Maybe I should retire to a nice big beach with a nice big drink and a woman with nice big bags of ice for my head.
It's not over, Bandicoot. There are still the gems. We still have a chance to triumph.